Welcome to BPS Detailing. So this is just going to be a quick video giving you an overview of all the polishers I use and their specific applications. So I'm going to do this one first, and then in the future I will go in and make individual videos on each one of these. I already have a couple short videos on the Nano, so I probably won't put any more videos on that, but I will be putting videos up on the rest of these. And please, leave a comment below, and ask about which one you're most interested in, and I'd be happy to make that video a priority. So this one's the Nano. It's extremely versatile. It's got several different heads for it. So it's got a rotary head, a 3mm orbit head, which is usually just used for sanding applications, and then it's got a 12mm orbit that's used for polishing those tighter areas of your vehicle. And then it also has a you can get a 1-inch plate for it and a 2-inch plate, and I've got all of those, and I go into more detail on that in those other videos. But it's a fantastic tool. It just allows you to get to the next level. If you're a professional or an enthusiast, it's just a really great tool to have. Unless if you have a more professional shop or something like that, where you've got a massive air compressor and you're able to just get an air tool that you can fit something like that on. But the ability of this thing to polish continuously on battery power is huge for detailing for me. I love not having to worry about cords. So even though I'm going to be using these while I'm doing my detailing job, it's nice to be able to pick this up and go for the more intricate areas and not have to worry about a cord at all. And I just have one of them charging while I'm using one of them. It actually charges fully faster than you can possibly wear this one out. Even if you had it going pretty much full speed constantly, your next battery will be ready to go by the time one of them runs out of juice. So I really like the battery powered aspect of it. And you don't lose any power. So it will give you full power the entire time that the battery's working, and it'll go from full power to not working at all. And I really, really like that, because I don't want to have to worry about, I'm using the thing on level 3, but since the battery's running low, I'm only getting the power level as if it were on setting number 1. So that doesn't happen. It's a fantastic tool. So on to the next one. This is the Torqx X machine. Torqx makes great tools as far as I'm concerned. Everything I've heard about them and researched about Torqx tools, they're great. This is actually probably the cheapest and therefore the worst machine that they make, but it's still a great little machine. I use it for my 3-inch pads only, so it's a really nice step to have in between the 5.5-inch size, the 5-inch size of these ones, and then I've got the 3-inch, then 2-inch and 1-inch over here. So that allows me to hit all the areas efficiently. And so this one is it's always the middle step. So sometimes I like to switch it up, so I'll go for the more intricate areas first, and then I'll get the areas that this one's a little bit too small for, so I'll get this one next, and then after I'm done with the stuff that this one can get, then I move on to these bigger sizes, and vice versa. I'll start with the biggest one, work down to this one, and finish up with the small one. So I'll do it either way. Just depends on kind of how I'm feeling that day about it. This machine is actually the least powerful of these machines right here, not including the Nano. It's kind of a different story. But of these more powerful machines, this one is the least powerful. It will stall the most out of any of these. And I don't think it rotates as fast as the rest of them either. It says 1200 RPM to 4200 RPM, 700 watt motor. This one up to 6400 OPM. And I don't see the wattage on here. I don't remember what the wattage is on that one. But I can tell you it transfers more power to the backing plate than this one does. And that's why I put the 3-inch on this machine, because it needs the least amount of power to operate effectively. It is smoother and quieter than this Harbor Freight machine here. But with that, not quite as powerful. And it looks a little nicer. It's just seems like it's just made a little better. It's got a nice rubber grip on the back here, and it feels nicer to use for the most part. One thing that's good about this one though is, although it doesn't have any great materials on it really, this is ergonomically shaped so you can get a good grip on it here. And then this is rubberized, and it's smaller around, so if you're able to fit your hand around the thing much better than most machines that are especially in this price range. So this one I actually got in a kit, and I got a kit from Costco, and I believe it was like on sale for $130. It came with this. It came with four ounce Chemical Guys polishes and pad cleaner, pad conditioner, and a couple really nice microfiber towels. So that was a great buy, great deal. Glad I got it. Moving on to the Harbor Freight. This one, they make a few different versions of the Harbor Freight dual action polisher. So the other one that's similar to this, it's got a wider handle, so it's not going to be quite as comfortable to hold, but I believe it has a little bit more sturdy build quality to it, although I think the motors in them are pretty much the same. As you can see, I don't like putting handles on any of these. This one came with I think it's a D handle for this one. I can't remember if this one came with a handle or not. I'm not sure on that. But I don't like using the handles. I like using the top part here to hold it. It just feels the best for me, most control for me. This thing is extremely loud, and it does have quite a bit of vibration. I think you can buy them. They retail for about $70, but Harbor Freight always has some sort of sale you can get. You can just go online, Harbor Freight coupons, and you could probably pick one of these up for around $55. And as far as bang for the buck, you're not going to beat this thing. It's a great machine. There's a bunch of detailers that have done videos on it. Scott from Dallas Paint Correction has a bunch of great videos on this machine. The one modification I did to this was I replaced the grease with some more high quality stuff. Something Nano technology. I don't remember exactly what it was, but you can just get some better grease for it, like $10, $8 to $10 probably on Amazon or any of your department stores, and replace the grease, and it will make it a little bit more quiet. It'll run a little bit more smoothly, maybe a little cooler as well. You're not going to notice a huge difference though, but it's just a good thing to do. On to the Maxshine. Now, for the next level up in polishers, I think this is the best bang for the buck. So for the cheapest of cheap bang for the buck, it's this Harbor Freight one. For a more professional tool, this one I think is the best bang for the buck, because you can get it on Amazon Prime for around $168. It's got a 900 watt motor, 1800 to 4800 OPM, 15 millimeter throw. That's another thing. These are both 8 millimeter throws in their orbits. This is a 15 millimeter. So for a 15 millimeter more professional machine, this is, I think it's the top dog. It comes with a nice bag, which I actually use to hold a lot of my polishes and things like that. Here's the bag for it here. So it's a good sized bag. Got tons of stuff in here. Tons of coatings and wax and polish and all of that, but it's a really nice bag that comes with it, just as standard. It also comes with what is it? Like the spacers you put in here. Can't remember what exactly they're called, but it's basically a spacer that you put to keep your pad from rubbing on this backing piece here. But you want to be careful with those, because sometimes they can kind of, if the piece that you put on there, if the spacer you put on there isn't milled perfectly, it can get this to rotate kind of at an angle, and that can mess up the function of the machine. So you want to be careful about those. Use it without it first, put it on there, use it again. Maybe put a mark on this thing to see, like a little piece of tape or something right here, and watch it while it's rotating to see what kind of rotation you're getting with and without the spacer on. But this thing, like I said, 15 millimeter orbit, 900 watt motor. It's got great power. It's much quieter than this machine, and probably a little quieter than this one as well. I love it. It's really ergonomic. It's got a rubber grip here, and this is all rubberized as well. So it's comfortable. It is heavier. It's on the heavy side. Probably weighs at least a good 1.5 pounds more than this Harbor Freight one. That's another benefit to this Harbor Freight tool, is it is nice and light. It's lighter than this one as well. But this is going to give you good power. It's got a good amount of orbit to it. Quiet. Looks really nice. Comes with a nice bag. You can't really go wrong for the price. And they've got a great warranty on it too. I don't remember the exact details, but it's a limited lifetime warranty on it. So really just a great machine. On to the big daddy here. This is the Flex 3401. It's a gear-driven machine, so it's not a free spinning machine like these three tools. These are all free spinning, so they will stall when you go over a contour or body line in a vehicle, or if you have them on anything that's not a flat surface. You got to pay really close attention to your pad, and you got to see if it's spinning enough to actually be working. Otherwise, you're just going to be dragging this around your paint, and it's going to be stalling all over the place. All three of these will stall out if you don't have the pad perfectly flat, or if you go to try to correct an edge. If you only have pressure on, say, this part of the pad, then the whole thing will stall out, and the machine won't be doing any work. It'll just be sitting there oscillating like this, but it won't be spinning. So that's one thing about free spinning machines that you have to be aware of. Whereas with this gear-driven machine, you can push the button down and this is going to be spinning at exactly whatever setting you set it on. It doesn't spin as fast. Looks like the top speed is 480 RPM or OPM. But it will give you the most correction of any of these tools because of the fact that it's gear driven. So you can apply more pressure to it if you want. I don't really recommend that, and most professionals probably wouldn't recommend that, because putting downward pressure on something, and an excessive amount of downward pressure force when you're correcting something, is just going to destroy your pad. But the benefit of this is you can just run it across the whole vehicle, over contours. You can polish edges of things and not worry at all about it stalling out on you. And that is a good thing. It can be a bad thing. If you're using a more aggressive pad and a more aggressive compound, and you go over an edge of something, and say you're used to a free spinning dual action polisher, that polisher is going to save you by slowing down its rotation, because that's why they actually built it in there. So it's going to slow down. It's not going to let you burn through edges of things as a kind of a built-in safety feature. And as a professional, for me, on certain cars, if they've got a lot of angles on them, a lot of edges, I just up my awareness and I recognize that. And so when I get to an edge, I just pay more attention and I'm more careful, and I work around those edges very carefully. Whereas if you've always used these and you haven't really worried as much about edges because you know your machine's going to save you, this is not going to save you. It's going to let you burn right through the clear coat, right through the paint. So you have to be more aware. But once you are more aware and once you're used to that, this is actually going to save you time, because you're going to be able to correct things at a much faster rate, and you're going to be able to correct those edges without moving to a smaller machine to keep the pad flat. Another great thing about this is it's still a dual action. It's still got a 8mm orbit on this thing. I'm like 99% sure that's the correct orbit that this machine has. So with that orbit in there, the advantage of that over a rotary polisher is it's not going to leave those terrible buffer trails and things. And if you're correcting something, you don't have to worry as much about that. You don't have to worry as much about heat or buffer trails, and that's really nice. So for me, this gear-driven machine is my favorite of these. And there's other great ones out there. I actually got an extremely good deal on this. This machine retails for $420 some for the machine alone. You can find it on sale for maybe a little less than that, but it's going to be, if you want this new, even though it's an older design, you're going to be paying around $400 for it. And I just got lucky and found one on Craigslist that was used, and I picked it up for $100. So, and it worked perfectly. It had a little wax on it. I had to clean it up, but it works like new. And so that's why I ended up with this one. Otherwise, I may have gone a different route. I really like the Torqx X. It's a really good machine. It's got a 5mm orbit as opposed to an 8 that this one has. But 3mm is such a minor amount, especially when you're working with a gear-driven machine. And the Millet is made specifically for detailing, while this flex machine is made for refinishing of surfaces, of all types of surfaces. So, if you work on stuff at home, if you're kind of a DIY person and you might have another use for a polisher, this might be a better option than the Melee. But if you're just an auto detailer or you just want it for auto detailing, the Melee is probably a better option. But for the price, I couldn't pass this up, and I don't think it makes sense to have this and the Melee because they are very similar. They do a similar job. They are forced rotation dual action polishers. So I'm really happy with this Flex 3401. It's proven. Tons of professionals use it. It's a well-known, fantastic tool. So yeah, for this overview, that's pretty much what I've got. This one I use for cutting. It's fantastic for taking out heavy defects. And then when I go to the finishing stage, I actually prefer these machines because they have a higher level of rotation. And I know that I could finish down probably just as good with the Flex. Something about having the higher level of speed with these machines, with a fine polish, I just prefer it. And I also like to switch things up a bit too. So I kind of like to categorize this as my really good cutting machine, and I like these as my really good finishing machines. And this is the main one actually here, this 15mm throw. It's just a bit more comfortable, it's more quiet. This one is sort of my backup when it comes to that. And then this one is for my 3-inch stuff, for getting the tighter areas. And I obviously use it for cutting in those tighter areas as well. But since this is gear driven, it allows me to get into a lot of nooks and crannies that I otherwise wouldn't be able to get with these two machines as well. And then for, maybe if I'm taking out an isolated scratch, this one would probably be my go-to, because you want to minimize the amount of clear coat you're taking off if you're going for an isolated deeper scratch. And I can put a one inch pad on this and go after it, and then that way I'm only taking clear coat off in a 1-inch area, 1-inch strip of area, as opposed to any of these where even if you tilt the machine, it's going to be a larger area of the clear coat that you're affecting. So yeah, if you've got any questions, please leave them below. Just let me know which one you want to see a deep dive on first, and yeah, give me a like and subscribe if you like this stuff and you want some more. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.